everyone, welcome back to Elful Deco. Today we are going to be playing with some aqua resin and making some color block trays. And here is what a color block tray looks like. I used two colors and I split down the middle for a half and half effect. And this is like a basic color block tray. But you know, I love marbles. So we're going to do a marble one as well. So instead of the solid color, we have one solid color and one marble. So I will show you exactly how I made both of these and let me know what you think about them. Let's get started. Before we begin, I just want to show you the aqua resin. This is the L liquid in the 43-pound bucket, I believe, and I always transfer to a smaller container that I think is like 6 or 8 pounds, so it's easier to pour. And here is the S3 powder, and that's also the 43-pound container. And because these containers are so big and heavy, that's why I keep them on the floor and don't really show them on camera most of the times. You've definitely seen this measuring cup though. I just use it as a scooper to scoop up my powder when I mix. To create these trays, I am using these tray molds that I got from Amazon. I don't remember the specific seller, but they're all about the same if they look like this. I actually forgot how much aqua resin it takes to fill these molds, so I am just mixing a total of 500 grams. That way I am using about 250 for each. I like to measure aqua resin by weight because I think that's more accurate. And you can also measure by volume, but the mix ratio is different. For measuring it by weight, the ratio I use is 1 part L liquid to 3.5 parts S3 powder. If you read the instructions for the aqua resin, it will actually say 1 part L liquid to 3 parts S3 powder, but I was getting lots of bubbles and I found this 1 to 3.5 part ratio on their website to help reduce the bubbles, and I find that to work really well for me, so that's why I use this ratio. So to get my 500 grams of mixture, I just poured 111 grams of L liquid, and now I am mixing in 389 grams of S3 powder. When I add my powder to my liquid, I like to add it a little bit at a time and mixing it as I go. That is to help reduce the powder clumps, but I will also use a hand mixer, so I'm not sure if this really makes a difference. A hand mixer really makes a huge difference, so I highly suggest you get one if you're working with aqua resin a little more often. I just got mine on Amazon for like $20 or $30, and at first I really didn't want to get it because I didn't want to spend the money, but take a look at this. This is me hand mixing, and you can see all the clumps of the powder in this mixture. I could probably mix this for the entire work time and pour at the last minute and I will still have clumps, and it does show on the final piece. It ends up looking like a ton of white specks on your piece and it doesn't fade away. I will see if I can find one of my older pieces to show you an example at the end. Here is the hand mixer that I have. It's a Black & Decker mixer. It's like those mixers for baking. I will link it in the description, so if you don't have one, check it out. I used the mixer for a good minute or two, and this is very sped up, but make sure to get the sides and the bottom for an even mixture. Here is what it looks like when it's fully mixed, and you'll see that it is not as lumpy as before. It's very smooth. The color combination that we are using for these color block trays is this terracotta pigment from Jasmonite paired with the natural off-white of aqua resin. The first tray that we are going to make is just 2 solid colors, so here I'm just pouring a quarter of the mixture for half of one of the trays to mix the terracotta color. My lighting is a little bit too much, so that's why you see me constantly covering the number on the scale so I can see it better. Now we just need to add the terracotta pigment into the mixture to create our desired color. If you are using Jasmonite pigments as well, make sure to shake the bottle as it says on the label. And here you can see that the color is what we want it to be. Now that I have the color that I want, we can pour. I'm just cleaning up the mold a little bit first. There was some dust on it. You can use blue masking tape to clean your mold. Before I pour, I like to tap the cups on the table to help pop the bubbles that are on the surface. To create the half and half color block, we are pouring down the middle using that line as a guide, as I mentioned before, and then spreading it to the side. Give the mold some taps to help with the bubbles. These molds are kind of thin, so I can't pick them up and drop them on the table like I would with my bird flower trays, but you can still tap around the side to help with the bubbles. Now we're pouring half of the leftover mixture to create the second tray. The half and half for the second tray is one side marble and one side the natural off-white. To create the marble, I am adding a very small amount of the terracotta pigment as the base, and then I will drop 2 drops of the pigments and swirling it around with a toothpick. If you are pouring drops of pigments like the way I am here, be very careful because you don't want to spill the whole bottle of pigment into your aqua resin. I am swirling the cup a little bit just to make the effect a little bit more marbly, if that makes sense. Give the cups a few taps to help with the bubbles before pouring, and then you can pour. Before we leave these pieces alone, just give the sides a few taps to help with the bubbles. Now in this video, I actually want to show you how I clean up my mixing sticks. I use a baby wipe to wipe off the aqua resin that's on the stick, and I do this for the metal mixer stick as well. I just wipe it off while the mix is still wet. The popsicle stick I just place on my table and I flip the cups upside down. I find that flipping the cups will make it easier to peel off the aqua resin once it's hardened. So right now our pieces are cured and it's about an hour and a half later. Let me show you what I mean with the cups. Here is my bucket of scraps and you can see all the lines from the cups. And I just give the cup a little bit of a squeeze and the aqua resin, the hardened aqua resin just comes right out of the sides, and these can be reused. I just don't really have any ideas for projects yet. I know many makers use their leftovers and scraps for chips for the terrazzo technique, and maybe one day we'll try that as well. This larger cup was a little bit more harder to clean off, but you can see the pieces fall into the scrap bucket. So you get the idea with the hardened aqua resin in the cups. So that's why I don't clean that with the baby wipe. These strips that you see me picking at on my table can also be reused, so don't let those go to waste. Anyways, let's move on to demolding. I had underestimated how much it takes to fill this mold, so they're not fully to the top, but it's pretty thick, so it turned out fine. And look at this. It's so cute and simple, and the colors didn't blend together. Now for the marble one. You can already see the half and half design on the back of the tray. And wow. I definitely could have poured it a little bit more smoother, but it still looks really cute. The marbling is so pretty. The tinted base was definitely necessary to get that color block effect. Earlier I said I wanted to show you a piece that was just mixed by hand, no electric mixer, and you can see all the white specks that are still on this tray from the unmixed powder, and this was made around probably 8 months ago. And here on these trays that we just made, you can see that there are no specks whatsoever, meaning that the mixture used to make these trays are mixed evenly. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found a lot of the tips and tricks that I mentioned for working with aqua resin to be helpful. And if you did, please like and subscribe. And let me know down in the comments below what you think about these trays. I'll see you next time.